Hi, my name is Robin Wong and I have here with me the Olympus 60 F2.8 Macro and the Olympus 75 F1.8. Which one of these lenses should you get? Let's do this! Every single time I talk about the Olympus 60 F2.8 Macro, someone will ask, hey, how about the Olympus 75 F1.8? Can I use that lens for macro photography as well? And every time I talk about the Olympus 75 F1.8, say for shooting portraits, then someone else will ask, how about the Olympus 60 F2.8? Is that a good portrait lens as well? Can I just buy one lens to do both? So in this video, I want to answer these questions. I want to explore the similarities and the differences between these lenses, and maybe you can decide which one of these lenses is more suitable for the photography that you are doing. Let's start with the Olympus 60 F2.8 Macro. I've mentioned this before. I personally believe that Olympus 60 Macro is the best macro lens for Micro Four Thirds system. I've made a video about this lens before. I'll put the link to the video up here. Please check it out if you have not done so. This is a true dedicated macro lens. If you intend to do macro photography, if you're serious about achieving as much magnification as possible, going as close as you can to your subject, then going for the 60mm macro is the better option. The Olympus 75 f1.8 is not a macro lens. I think there is a misconception going around that the longer the focal length, say 100, 150 or 300 or 400, then you can go closer to the subject and you can do macro photography. Yes, Olympus specific telephoto lenses will allow you to go really close to the subject, achieving very high magnification, but these telephoto lenses are not macro lenses, and these telephoto lenses cannot achieve the same magnification as a true macro lens like this Olympus 60 f2.8. The Olympus 60 f2.8 can go really close, revealing those tiny details that the naked human eye cannot see. And the Olympus 75 f1.8 cannot do that. That's the first fundamental difference. It is something that is truly unique to this macro lens, and there's a reason why it is labeled as a macro lens. One important advantage that the Olympus 60 f2.8 Macro has over the Olympus 75 f1.8 is weather sealing. The 60 f2.8 is fully weather sealed against splash and dust, so you can shoot in harsh environments like by the beach or in the desert or in a tropical rain. The Olympus 60 f2.8 will definitely survive a thunderstorm. That is something that you cannot do with the Olympus 75 f1.8. Hopefully in the future, Olympus will release a weather-sealed version of the 75 f1.8. The Olympus 75 f1.8 is definitely one of my top favorite lenses from Olympus. I've made a video talking about why I added this lens in my camera bag before. I'll put a link to the video up here. This is an extremely versatile lens. I really like the super long reach of 150mm equivalent focal length. It allows me to do a lot, especially for portrait photography, event coverage, and even shooting weddings. I always have this Olympus 75 f1.8 in my camera bag for all my photography shoots. The biggest advantage of shooting with the Olympus 75 f1.8 is having the large f1.8 aperture opening. This gives you two very important benefits. Number one, the ability to render shallow depth of field. In combination with the 150mm telephoto reach, the f1.8 will render the shallowest depth of field for any Micro Four Thirds system. If you truly want to blur off the background, you want to isolate your subject from the messy background, then this 75 f1.8 is a must-have lens. The 60 f2.8 can give you some separation, but it is not as effective as the 75 f1.8. And then there is that quality of the blur. The bokeh is just creamy, smooth, and looking so beautiful. The second benefit, the f1.8 large aperture will allow you to shoot better in low light situations. The f1.8 larger opening of the lens allows it to gather more light. Then you don't have to push your high ISO numbers too high. You can go down maybe 1 to 2 stops lower. This will give you much cleaner results. This is a true advantage. Even f1.8 versus f2.8, the 75 f1.8 already has a huge advantage over the 60 f2.8 Macro when it comes to low light shooting. I've been using the Olympus 75 f1.8 for my professional shoots, and a lot of them happen in challenging dim lighting situations. I've shot in low light theater, I've shot in dimly lit stage with a singer performing, I've shot weddings in a dark church, I've shot a lot in low light using the 75 f1.8, and each time it never failed to deliver fantastic results. In terms of build quality and construction, the Olympus 75 f1.8 is made of full metal. The body feels solid and more reassuring in comparison to the 60 f2.8 Macro, which is made of plastic. Although the macro lens is made of plastic, it still feels really good. It doesn't feel like a cheap lens. It does feel quite solid when you're using it. There's no creaky parts. But of course, metal construction here takes the win. But remember, the Olympus 60 Macro is weather sealed and the 75 f1.8 is not. Lens performance wise, none of these lenses are the fastest when it comes to autofocus for Macro Four Thirds. There are faster lenses out there, especially the Olympus Pro lenses. However, these lenses are not slow either. They are definitely fast enough and more than reliable to get the job done. I've been shooting with the 75 f1.8 for many years as a professional photographer, and I've managed to nail critical moments successfully. No issues using the 75 f1.8 on my Olympus OMD cameras using autofocus for these situations. The 60 Macro will struggle when you go close to full magnification. If you go really close to your subject, that's perfectly normal for all macro lenses. For what it is, I still think that the Olympus 60 Macro does a fantastic job. The optical quality from these lenses are excellent. I have no issue getting incredibly sharp images from corner to corner consistently for all the kinds of shooting that I do with any of these lenses. And perhaps the 60 f2.8 Macro has better technical control, or the chromatic aberration or the flare control. It is definitely better with the 60 f2.8 Macro. But the 75 f1.8 perhaps is slightly sharper and renders more beautiful bokeh shooting wide open at f1.8 in comparison to 60 f2.8. So there is no clear winner. Both lenses are capable of producing fantastic results. At the end of the day, there is no one lens better than the other. The Olympus 60 f2.8 Macro and the Olympus 75 f1.8 are both excellent lenses, yet at the same time they are both very different lenses. So it all comes down to what you are doing with your photography. If you need a macro lens, you're doing close-up photography a lot, you need to achieve high magnification, shooting inside macro, jewelry, or any of this product photography that you really need to go close to your subject, then the 60 f2.8 Macro is the obvious choice. The 75 f1.8 cannot do macro. It doesn't allow you to go close. It cannot magnify the subject enough. You will need a true macro lens, so the 60 f2.8 is the clear winner. If you need to shoot a blurry background, you need to render as shallow depth of field as possible, you need a medium telephoto reach, and you shoot a lot in low light. You need a prime lens with a brighter aperture to use lower ISO number to manage high ISO noise. Then the 75 f1.8 is the better lens. I think the 75 f1.8 from Olympus is one of the best portrait lenses out there. It is incredibly sharp. The f1.8 aperture will render really blurred background, and that bokeh, the creamy, buttery smooth bokeh, is just beautiful. It is something that the 60 f2.8 cannot do, or it is not as good as the 75 f1.8. I hope I've successfully cleared up any confusion between these two lenses, and I hope that this video will be able to help you to decide which one of these two lenses will fit your photography better. If you found my sharing beneficial, please consider buying me a cup of coffee, or you can contribute directly to my PayPal. Links in the description below on how you can do that. Any small contribution goes a long way. It will help me to continue making content like this and publish them right here. Please also give me a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, and share, and I'll definitely see you again in the next one. Until then, stay safe, go out to take more photographs if you can. Bye-bye.